The fourth bullying prevention strategy is promoting personal responsibility. And we've done a lot of groundwork for this in the first three strategies. So now it's time to dive into that piece, that personal responsibility piece. And the first element of promoting personal responsibility is for each individual member of the community, that's each adult and each child, to make the agreement with yourself and your community to figure out what you're feeling, to take responsibility for identifying what you're feeling in any given situation, to either be able to manage your own feelings appropriately, or if you're not sure whether you can do that, to name those feelings and ask for some support in managing them. To figure out what you need out of a situation, and then from there to either meet your own needs, handle them yourself, or to ask others for support. So, those four pieces have to do with taking responsibility for yourself, taking responsibility for understanding your feelings and either managing them or asking others for help managing them. And then understanding your needs and either managing them or asking others for help in getting them managed. And then the other half of personal responsibility is to not try to do that for other people. So making the agreement not to interpret other people's feelings, or other people's needs, or other people's motives, but instead to ask them, "What's going on for you? How you doing? How you feeling? What's up?" Also making the agreement not to ignore your own feelings or ignore your own needs in favor of other people's. To take responsibility for your feelings and needs and to trust other people to do that. And also agreeing not to take your feelings out on other people, not to just sort of use them as an emotional or literal source of violence so that you can let that difficult feeling out, but rather to handle those feelings in ways that are appropriate and figure out what the needs behind those feelings are and get those needs met. The fifth strategy follows naturally from the fourth, and that is to develop positive communication strategies. So, when we ask people to take responsibility for themselves and their feelings and their needs and to understand what they're feeling and figure out what they need, that kind of comes with the expectation that if they need support around something, they'll figure out a way to ask for that support, and that they'll also provide support and feedback to others in ways that are helpful. And that's what this positive communication strategies piece is all about. So the first half of that is about generally trying to stay away from negativity and to focus more on positivity. So the best practices suggest that giving 4 times as much praise or positive feedback as corrective or directive feedback. So corrective feedback is where you redirect someone to say, instead of doing this, I need you to do that. And directive feedback is where you give an instruction, I need you to do this. So 4 times as much positive feedback or praise as correction and direction. And also to praise both qualities of self, like you are intelligent or funny or creative or kind or unique in some special way, identifying those elements of who a person is and praising those elements of who that person is. And also praising actions, deeds, and accomplishments. The reason this is important is because our sense of self-worth is a combination of our belief that innately we are inherently admirable, likable, and good people. Excuse me. Blended together with the belief that we are competent, that we accomplish good and meaningful things, that we are good at stuff and we do stuff well. And people need to hear both kinds of compliments regularly in order to feel good about themselves. And this is true for children as well as adults. So as you give positive feedback, seeking to make sure that that positive feedback contains praise of both types is very important. And then the third piece of focusing on the positive is making sure that that positive feedback focus, that 4 times as much praise, and that praise across both areas, is both an adult to adult approach and an adult to a child approach, as well as encouraging the children to make that positive approach be a part of how they interact with each other, so that it's happening at all levels and in all interactions throughout all individuals within the organization. And that creates a positive, focused community. The second half of developing positive communication strategies is having positive strategies for asking for change and resolving conflict. So, when you are trying to solve a problem, that's a different conversation than the conversation for processing feelings. And when you're trying to solve a problem, you need to stay solution focused instead of being too deeply focused on needing to express every feeling that there is. So make sure that you're determining whether you're having a processing conversation where both people are trying to be heard and move through their feelings together, or whether you're having a solution focused conversation, in which case it's your responsibility to make sure that you don't get drawn into um, expressing all of your frustrations, but rather that you focus on the solution. In addition, a core element of having positive approaches to asking for change and resolving conflict is not to take other people's feelings personally. And this is especially true of the kids. Because sometimes kids will try to make you take their feelings personally. They'll shout stuff at you like you're stupid, or I hate your lessons, or you're so mean to me. And it's hard not to take that personally because it's directed as a personal attack. But remember that the feelings that are leading into that attack are information. And latch onto that information, identify what the information is that's being conveyed, like you don't feel empowered or confident, or you're feeling bored, and ask a question. Have I got that right? Are you feeling bored? Are you feeling unempowered? Are you feeling ignored? Um, what's going on for you? What do you need? How can we fix this? And that invites that child to take that personal responsibility for their own feelings. So taking other people's feelings personally is counterproductive to the process. And then lastly, make sure that as you work on problem solving, you're managing your own feelings. Identify what they are, recognize that you're having them, and figure out a time and a place that it's appropriate to deal with or release those feelings. So, all of the first 5 strategies, all of those first 5 pieces, are there in order to create an environment where it feels safe to do strategy number 6, which is speak up and speak out. If you have an authentic community where people are taking responsibility, both kids and adults, for their own feelings, where you've agreed to work on nonviolence, where people are understanding that feelings are information and making better choices about how to see that information and how to communicate about it and how to be positive in general, and where there's mutual respect in the interactions that are taking place, it feels a lot safer to tell someone that you don't like what's happening or that bullying is happening than it does in an environment where you could then be the next target. So, if you've done the first 5 strategies or are working on those first 5 strategies and are getting some success with them, then it makes it a lot easier to ask kids to do this 6th strategy, which is the speak up, speak out strategy. Do not be a silent witness to bullying. It's easy for kids who find themselves in socially unsafe or scary or upsetting situations with peers to feel like at least they didn't join in. And we need to teach them that that's not enough. There are some things that they can do as a part of speaking up and speaking out. First is to say what you don't like about what's happening. Say specifically, I don't like that Sammy is being made to feel ashamed of his body. I don't like that Eleanor is being teased because she's a girl. Or whatever it is that's going on, say what you don't like. It's also good to say it's not funny, or to say that's not nice, or to say it's not creative or clever, so that people understand that they're not having a positive effect. They're just taking someone else's personal power away. As a part of the speak up, speak out process, encourage kids to find their empathy for everyone involved, including not only the person being picked on or victimized, but also the bully. Be able to understand that that person is also coming from a place of hurt and vulnerability in making the decision to say those unkind things, and try to be empathetic to that as well. A really good positive strategy as a part of Speak Up and Speak Out is to say strong positive things about yourself and strong positive things about other people as a way of contravening that negativity or that teasing. And generally to avoid mocking or sarcasm, especially if you're in an environment where bullying is or has been an issue. Some children cannot differentiate between friendly sarcasm and unfriendly sarcasm, and sarcasm is one of the most common tools that is used as an interaction in bullying. So if you're having bullying interactions in your program, a really good thing for the adults in the program to do is to just stop using sarcasm as an approach to humor or bonding altogether until that bullying has been more resolved. And make sure that eventually, if you do use any sarcasm, that it's very clear to everyone that it's friendly and not intended to make anyone feel small. Another element of Speak Up, Speak Out is to walk away from the bully and invite the person who's being bullied to come along. And this is something that any kid or kids can always do. If you're on a playground or in a hallway or in a classroom and someone is getting teased, to say, I don't like this, I'm leaving, and I think you should come with me, Sammy, is a great way to just sort of end the whole thing in a low drama kind of a way. If things start to feel scary, kids should also be told that it's always okay to get a teacher. And if issues are arising commonly, or if there are times or situations where things are more likely to arise, or if there's something that someone is doing that doesn't feel good to other people and they may not even know about it, ask for a community meeting or a group conversation and use positive conflict resolution tools to bring it up or to discuss it with the group. Ideally, again, this would be focused more on naming specific changes that you would like to see. When we're playing on the playground, it would be great if instead of saying boo, people could compliment each other on what they're doing well. Because some of us feel insecure when we get booed. So being as specific and as positively focused as possible, trying to avoid pointing out individual people's behaviors since that can cause defensiveness, but rather focusing on what kinds of phrases or behaviors or interactions are not feeling good to people and what kinds of replacements everyone would like to see is a much more constructive approach.